The Orville, Season 2, Episode 6. A Happy Refrain. Uh, Interesting thing is, this is sort of the payoff from last week. They were talking about uh, the. I think it was last week. They were talking about the symphony that was coming by, and it's like, yeah, that's gonna be there, and uh, and so after the piano recital, it's like, yes, that's coming in soon too. And so we actually got it.
Also a payoff from quite a few episodes, because they actually did that relationship right as far as writing style. You know, they they built that up. And they made it realistic. I mean, as far as falling in love with an android goes. But unlike Data, he's not fully functional and anatomically correct. But that's like that. I mean, whatever their equivalent of holodeck, I forget was.
Environmental simulator.
Yeah, simulator.
Yeah. And then before we get into all that, because that's the core of the issue of the episode, moustache.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it's like, really? Hey, it's your face. And then Isaac comes in. Is there something wrong with is Bortus unwell? Well, that depends on your personal opinion of face
Yeah.
face hair or whatever it was.
I thought it looked magnificent. I thought it looked good.
I thought it looked like a molestache.
No, it looked like a cop stash.
It looked like a 70s pedo stash.
No, cop stash. It's a cop stash. That's it was fire department cop, that sort of thing. It was that sort of stash.
How everybody's just like, oh, why did you do this? It's like, see, that's what I'm talking about. And now it makes sense.
Yeah. And at this point, that's the great thing about the way they build up the characters. You immediately know who's to blame for this one. You're like,
Yeah,
I,
without even having to pay attention
unless
to
it came from Bortus himself, which is unlikely, you know exactly who came up with it, or at least one of the two.
he
Lamar's less likely to do this sort of thing, but he might. But Malloy
to
is, yes, that's
say,
definitely one that might do this. It's like, yeah, and they've actually at this point had a talk about influencing Bortus this way. And it's like, yeah, remember when we had that talk about this is what I was talking about,
yeah,
and and like a lot of people seem to like it, but you know, but
I, I,
Clyden
I
didn't.
love how real that family structure is too, because it's like Clyden's like, get rid of it, and then Topa's like, I
I
like
like
it.
it.
I like it, Papa. It's like, yeah, Topa likes it.
Yeah, I
And
agree with Topa. I think you should have kept it. I think it looks cool, but
I'm on Clyden's side on this, but still.
yes, it's completely a matter of taste. But I think it's cool looking. But yeah, it's just this show is just you know who was up to it, and you know you're not sure. Sometimes with Malloy, you don't know whether he did it maliciously or just because he thought it would be cool. And this one, I think it might have just been that he thought it would be cool.
Yeah, I think that was more of a dude, you should totally grow a stash. It would look awesome. See, I told you, it looks awesome.
Yeah. To which everybody else is like, no, not really.
Join the fire department.
Yeah. When did you join the fire department? It's like, it's it. Yeah. I still think it. Different people are gonna come up with different things, and I sincerely suspect that the orchestra that was used was just the orchestra that the Orville uses, because they have an orchestra that they use for all their music. And because I think I've read like a quote from McFarlane. We score it like a movie. We actually have music. We actually have orchestral score, which is an influence of track. It's like, yes,
Yeah,
we
a nice little nod to them too. They get to actually be on screen with it.
yeah,
That's a thing for them too.
which must have been fun because some of them in were in alien costume. Like
Yeah,
most of them were human. Were just straight human, but a few of them had like they did some facial things. They did some um like caps on their head and done some makeup over top. There's so much you can do with certain ones because you have to be with if somebody's actually going to play an instrument, you have to be uh if it's going to be an actual live performance there, which I don't know if it was, but that would be cool if that was actually they were actually playing at that time. But if they, the audio might have been difficult, but if they were, you have to be careful about what you do with around the mouth and nose, and making sure they have plenty of an unobstructed path for the instrument, um, and such. And you can't have two weird fingers. It's got to be basically normal fingers. Um, though we found out was it's the one they have somebody on the crew that has 16 fingers or something like that, because that's
yeah.
that's the one.
That's the one that replaced Isaac, and you could totally tell Isaac was getting jealous there. Which I was just like, that is adorable. He doesn't understand the concept of jealousy as far as experientially, but he was totally getting jealous.
Yeah, he actually does, but he doesn't understand that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was all weird.
Weird in a good way, not weird in a
But
Lojo way.
so weird in what way?
Jaloja.
Oh, Deloja.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not that kind of weird.
yeah. Not the kind of weird you run in with Mocklins all the time, but
Yeah.
it does sort of follow what an android would think would trying to think about it in a way that you know
Logically.
this is the end goal. I understand it because you start with the end. It's just basic logic. Would you want what find out what you want to achieve, set that as your goal, and then work backwards and figure out what your goal is and figure out what it is. Your goal is to communicate, to get to know each other. Your goal is not to communicate, but just to get to know one another. Well, he can instantly know everything because he can just download the file. So that's what he does.
And he that is kind of a generic male conception preconception about relationships anyways. The goal is to hook up and there you go. I'm not saying all guys, but that is a stereotype of guys.
There is a strain of guys that are just doing that, but I was just started staying at the first one, which was actually kind of fun. It was kind of a funny thing. He just didn't understand, but
Yeah. Let's turn the tables. He flips the table.
no, She's actually said flip the table. She didn't say turn the table. That would have
Well,
been funny as well. He just starts turning it a quarter, or asks, "To what angle should I turn it? Or
yeah,
how many radians should I cycle this circular table through?
yeah.
90 degrees? Will 90 degrees be sufficient? Huh?
Or just spin it like a top.
Yes. And yes, he at that point the other way would be uh his computer activate lazy Susan mode for this table and then spins it.
Yeah.
It's like that would have worked too. And suddenly it can spin because it wouldn't take anything for an environmental simulator to spin. But
I mean, environmental simulator was able to do a lot of different things, so
yeah, imagine managed to make him fully functional and anatomically correct.
true.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and he at that point had, you know, as far as he's concerned, he had completed his the information opportunity, and was just like, okay, I'm going to cut this off now, completely unaware of what that would do to
What that
Claire, because he
would
didn't
entail.
understand. Yeah, he didn't understand emotional attachment, so doesn't understand why that's a bad idea to do that quickly and
Yeah. And
that creatively, I
cut
suppose.
everybody off.
Uh,
Mm.
yes, and yeah,
Man, he's a jerk.
yeah, he learned quite quickly. Um, Groups of people, especially those that know each other very well, if you do this sort of thing, you are going to get flack.
Although that really wasn't what caused him to change his ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's a recorded thing that he knows now, is that if you do this
Yeah.
sort of thing, you will get flack. But also that his
He's
subroutines had gotten essentially had gotten accustomed to her at such a degree that removing her from his life um, just
was detrimental.
it's detrimental. He made a mistake. Isaac doesn't make mistakes, generally speaking. He doesn't, not in the way that he did. You know, he may have thought this would work, but that was to his best of his information. That was what was going to work. You know, he can only be as right as the information he has access to, and if it changes, well then that's a thing. But
How did that happen? It went that many light years? No, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Wait, what?
yeah, I think I should go do a self-diagnostic. I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
But
And he brought her a banana.
oh yeah, he brought me a banana. It's like,
Wait,
Those are
Mercer?
good.
No,
no,
because she's
Isaac.
talking about how Ed
Yeah.
was robotic
Oh
in
yeah.
her relationship with him, and it's like he brought me a banana. Wait, Ed? No, Isaac. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because you're grumpy when you get grumpy if you don't eat at regular intervals. He noticed things.
Yes. But yeah, it was very much an interesting.
I love how pissed off Rabbit got. He was so jealous. He was like, "Wait, what?"
I mean, yeah, it was a silly episode. At the same time, it was kind of sweet.
It was.
I mean, now she has a boyfriend that's a talking dildo.
Her battery operated buddy. Literally.
Yeah.
And we
Uh,
finally got the outfit talk again.
Yeah, and we got Norm Macdonald showed up on set.
Yeah.
And that must have been interesting for the Mark Jackson, the guy who plays Isaac, because that's him, just
Yeah.
without all the equipment.
And actually, it was funny because before he did the holographic simulation of himself, he actually was in his full costume wearing clothes over his costume. That had to be uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Interesting production note from the wiki. The final scene of rain pouring inside the bridge was in fact the actors under a green screen to prevent water from damaging the set.
Sense. Also, a fun fact: I was watching it the other day at work, and that song had come. The song had come on as one of my coworkers came in, and she started dancing to it and singing along.
Sing in the rain, what a glorious. And I like that was sort of a through line for the entire sort of narrative was rain. How she
Yeah,
loves rain. It's that's unusual for
humans.
humans to like rain. Well, not unusual that. And
Hey, I love rain.
yeah, and the whole thing is singing in the rain. Rain is just sort of, and it finishes with raining on the bridge. I imagine they were very interested in finishing that particular scene
Yeah,
in one
Yeah.
go. It's like, yes, we want.
I just realized something. They're probably gonna have an episode where Isaac is like, I'm done collecting my data. I must go back to my planet now.
Yeah, they have planted that if he ever wants to leave, they ever are rotating him out. They have an always an out, and maybe they'll come. That maybe that'll be the thing is he'll request to stay on. You know,
Yeah.
and that'll be the fight. It's like, there'll be
kind
they'll
of all was when she was sent back to Vulcan.
yeah, and it's like I want to be on. I want to be with those humans.
I don't want to go.
Yes.
Oh, wrong alien.
He always says that.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't.
if you think about it from 11's perspective, that's a really freaking dark joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eh,
But I mean, 11 can be kind of dark.
Yeah. And thinking about it, interesting side note while we're here, that the day of the doctor has to occur after, in at least the doctor's timeline, after the Shakespeare episode, I think, because uh he doesn't know why she's mad at him, but she's
Yeah.
mad. Why she was mad at 10, why the queen was mad at 10 is like, yeah, that's why. Now that way makes sense. But
Yep. So it was after that for him. And it was before the unit audios for Osgood.
anyway,
And it's all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
yes. But getting back to Orville, which we should be on properly, it's interesting to see that yes, their relationship has advanced. It advanced a lot, and then went backwards, and then came back to more than what they were, but not as. Whew. Yeah, but this is sort of the science fiction stuff that, this is TNG Data sort of stuff.
Yes.
That, this is that sort of quality stuff that.
I love the fact that Mercer was able to tie it together with, well, you said you've gathered all the information you can from that, but you're missing one very important part of human relationships. Coming back and groveling because you were wrong.
That is true.
But was it? No, it was this week, was it? When is it now? Anyway, those at this anyway. Anyway, but yeah, that's most of the core of the episode.
Next episode, little tiny robot babies.
I don't think it works that way, but
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
Oh, it is possible. You have to make one in the simulator.
That you could create them in the simulator. I mean, the holodoc did that in Voyager.
Yeah, I mean, and in a way, with the right technology, Isaac could theoretically, it's not like the technology. I don't know whether the technology to produce more of his people, his artificial people, is heavily restricted. But if it isn't, he could create his own,
Betty, you guys are forgetting he's basically a stepdad to the.
Yeah, he's that too. Yeah, but yeah, if he wants his own.
Yeah.
And what he would probably do is try and, take the personality profile of the two of them and mix it together, and put that into a new one of his kind. But yeah, he basically comes in with there's two already, kids that he's already sort of uncle at this point, but going towards stepfather.
Yeah. When I love the advice, when surprise her, when Ed one day Ed came to my work with a cake it was a terrible cake, but it was the thought that counted. I mean, hideous, awful. Yes, but it looked like the worst thing ever. Yes, but poor Ed getting ripped on. But it was the thought that counts. And so he goes to Claire at 3 a.m. with a cake. Well, she was surprised.
Yes.
And the boy, is that cake
Probably.
for her? No, go to bed.
Oh yeah, it just reminds me of that Rugrats scene or whatever little clip that you always see memed. It's just like, why are you making chocolate pudding at 3 a.m.? I've lost control of my life, or something to that
Mm.
um, but yeah, it was quintessential sci-fi small scale stories. I mean,
That was very much like Data's Day or any of the Data-centric episodes.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I can find.
We need to start a petition to have McFarlane do Star Trek. Take
Yeah,
over Star.
here the 2-part thing. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why on earth are you making chocolate pudding? Because I've lost control of my life. Okay, but yeah, wanted to be accurate on that for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, it was again. Well, not my favorite because it's a little cringy, but to me, but it's really well written sci-fi. It's not my favorite episode of the season, but I can understand how well it's written and how interesting the characters are and how this does a lot of good things. And if nothing else, mustachioed
That was the cringiest part of this for me.
yeah, it
No,
was,
him in underwear, him in like the dirty wife beater and man panties. That was the cringy part.
you know what would have been funny? I
that
just thought
out of my
had a
mind.
funny thought. Okay. So at some point, Bortus, and I know this would have slowed things down, but they could have maybe shortened a scene here, tuck a few scenes back here. I mean, it was really, the other stuff was really good, but it would have been really funny if they'd been able to sneak in a scene of Bortus shaving, and he starts in the middle and makes a Worf mustache with the little side bits, looks at it in the mirror, sort of ponderingly, and then shaves the rest of it. Shakes his head, and then or Clyden says, "No, shave it all."
Yes.
That would have been funny.
Maybe in the scenes.
Yeah, that would have been a great sort of, if you had a moment in this. This was a lot was going on in this episode with the whole Isaac and and Doc.
Yeah, it was an A plot heavy episode.
Yeah, the B plot was very light, but if they'd had just a few more moments of it, needed to fill just a little more of the episode, that would have been funny. He's sitting in the mirror, he's shaving, he knocks the middle part off, and he looks at it ponderingly. It's like, and then Clyde's just like, "No, all of it." Okay.
Clyden made me. His whining was becoming unbearable.
Yeah, I think that would have been if I was on the writing staff and I had
They
I
might
had
have
a few
even put,
minutes. I had a few minutes to kill, a moment or two, a minute or two to kill. That's what I would have done with it, just because it was.
it would have been funny. But
Yeah,
they might have even put something like that in, but they just didn't have
yeah,
room for it.
that would have been great as a deleted scene. I imagine if the writing is anything like I think it is. They may have plots that are everything is super tight and they're trying to write it to the time limit,
Mm-hmm.
but they have they always make a couple extra scenes that they could add in that are good for padding. That way, if the scenes take a little longer than they think when they're shooting and they have to you know they have to or it's a little too short on this end, you can just go, okay, it's a little too short. We need a minute sort of thing to throw in here. All right, boom. I mean, they can get away with that with some of the exterior shots. They can linger on exterior shots for a couple extra seconds, and that's fine. You can eat a few seconds over the entire runtime with exterior shots or establishing shots and just and a few seconds and boom, you know,
Yeah.
or cutting it or slowing it down just a little bit or speeding it up a little bit to get it in there. But
Comment here,
what?
an extra comment here or there, extend the scene.
Well, I mean, at that point, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think, yeah, if they'd had a moment, that's what I would have done with it because it was funny. It would be. I would have loved to seen a deleted scene with that in it, but yeah. So far, and this is the halfway point, isn't it, of the
I think
season.
so.
So it's already great science fiction.
There
This
has not
is
been a bad episode this season.
yeah. We haven't really had a clunker. had some had some weird ones.
There have been some cringy episodes. I
Well,
mean, that porn
but
addiction thing was the cringiest one.
but it was well written. It was
It was. And
it
it was
was
so funny.
cringy, but in the right way. Yeah,
Exactly. Just like this one. It was cringy, but the cringe had a purpose.
yeah. There was a reason for it, and that uncomfortableness was probably intentional to get you to feel what's going on in universe.
Exactly. It was cringy with a purpose, not sitcom cringe.
One thing also that I would like to bring up is Topa or Machlin's part Jem'Hadar, because Topa's growing up really freaking fast.
Oh no! I was thinking the exact same thing. Like in the what episode was it? I think it was the porn addiction episode. Was the first time we saw Topa as in this season.
Yeah.
How long were they traveling between seasons? That was like insane.
Yeah.
He looks like a preteen already.
Yeah. Machlin's apparently grew up really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, considering the fact that, they hatch from eggs and they are one gender species and all, maybe their maturation cycle differs too. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they have a quick childhood, but then once they reach like teenage years, that lasts for like 20 years. Who knows?
Yeah, there's no telling. Which is an interesting thing to do with having a child aboard the station, is you can play with between seasons them growing up really fast, or you can play with that sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting that last season Bibby, this season preteen. What?
Yeah. What
It's
is he, a sim?
Maybe.
But yeah,
He
it's
must have he must have reached that finished that quest or whatever it is. He reached the preteen sim.
but yeah, I'm curious what if they'll ever acknowledge that, or that's just going to be a thing that happens and they're just going to go with it.
Hey, that happens in soap operas all the time. Or at least
Yeah.
it did back in the 90s when my mom watched soap operas.
But-
They would have somebody who was a little baby, and then a year later they're a teenager, and then a couple of years later they're marrying their cousin or something.
no, it was their cousin's evil twin.
Oh yeah, their cousin's evil twin. Back to the death.
which would technically still be his cousin, but
Yeah, exactly.
the evil cousin of the twins. But
Yeah. They meant to marry the one cousin. They ended up marrying their cousin's twin.
was Evie.
Yeah.
The eye patch. Oh no, she moved the eye patch to the other side. It wasn't the good cousin after all. It was the evil one I fell in love. Por qué? Oh.
Eye patch in that other universe, did I?
Oh no.
No.
Wow, some references here.
I still want to watch that. I didn't get around to watching that episode again yet. Inferno, which is funny because I watched so much Third Doctor recently. And I spent pretty much my entire weekend watching Doctor Who.
That sounds awful. Just terrible.
Totally.
It was terribly awesome.
Anyway, any other thoughts on Orville? We seem to be running out of steam on Happy Refrain.
Yeah.
No more thoughts.